happening tonight in Vancouver.
We have been told to stay apart, and now we are coming together, bit by bit, step by step.
Stage 2 of BC's reopening plan officially starts Tuesday. We'll tell you what you can now add to your summer plans.
If you're looking for a job, this would be a great summer to get one.
With travel restrictions officially easing in BC as of Tuesday, those in the tourism sector have been scrambling to get ready. But there's one major issue that could prevent them from opening their doors.
My current last name that I carry is not at all in sync with who I am.
Ottawa hoping to support reconciliation by giving Indigenous people an opportunity to reclaim a part of their identity.
This is CityNews everywhere.
Start the car, fire up the barbecue. Stage 2 of BC's reopening plan kicking in Tuesday and bringing some big changes.
We're going to be seeing more people that we care about, visiting more places that we want to go and see, and we'll be safely celebrating the major milestones that we've missed over the past 15 months.
The changes are still incremental. So to start, we'll have travel around BC. 50 people allowed outside at personal gatherings, indoors 50 people at seated events, including banquet halls, restaurants, movie and live theaters. And liquor sales will be extended to midnight. Indoor sports games and high-intensity exercise classes allowed. Up to 50 spectators okay at outdoor games, and playdates allowed again for children. It's a lot more freedom, but not a free-for-all. Most safety measures remain in place, including masking in indoor public places, and comes with a reminder that while you may be ready to leap into the changes, others are not.
If we have people who in our family who are going through cancer treatments or elderly people who are not yet comfortable, it's okay to say no to going to that family gathering or putting off a little bit longer, getting together with friends or others.
And because some communities in the province are not open yet to tourists, travelers are being asked to make sure they're respecting people in the places they want to visit.
Check out Hello BC to plan your trip today. And their Know Before You Go guide, which helps visitors ensure the communities they visit are ready to welcome them.
When it comes to the next steps, Stage 3, which will include interprovincial travel, slated for July 1st. This gives a 2-week incubation period to see what happens with cases and transmissions following these changes in Stage 2.
I don't expect with what we know now, we'll have to go back, but we may need to slow going forward depending on what happens. And this next couple of weeks will be very key for that. And right now, the public health orders are still in place.
Dr. Henry expects a slight bump in transmissions with more contacts, but is confident the province has the measures in place to manage this. With testing, contact tracing, watching variants of concern closely, and also increased vaccinations. So far, more than 75% in BC 18 and older have at least a dose. That not only exceeds the goal to move to Stage 2 now, but also to a full reopening in September.
We have been told to stay apart, and now we are coming together, bit by bit, step by step.
For City News in Victoria, I'm News 1130's Lisa Yuzda.
It's so desperate in many places that employers are finding that they're having to work 7 days a week, 16, 18 hours a day.
Hotels, bars, and restaurants are gearing up for what will hopefully be a profitable summer as travel restrictions officially ease Tuesday. But those in the tourism sector are struggling to find the staff that will be required to keep up.
There are lots of people that are struggling.
Alejandro Diaz owns El Santo, a restaurant in New Westminster. As we move into phase 2 of BC's restart plan, he'll be able to extend liquor service until midnight, a huge moneymaker for most bars and restaurants. The problem is he doesn't have enough staff to cover the hours. He's already had to reduce the number of days the restaurant is open because of staff shortages.
Eventually, we would like to open more because we're paying rent for 7 days. We just open 5 days, but we're still paying for the days that we're closed.
Well, it's a real problem, quite frankly. It's a labor problem right now. now to find people to work.
Staffing for hotels across BC is also becoming a major concern. As of Tuesday, recreational travel across BC is permitted. But Brian Pilbeam, general manager of the Delta Hotel in Kamloops, says he's concerned about whether those in the industry will be able to keep up with demand.
My own hotel, we've got hourly positions right across the board that are available, from servers to front desks to housekeeping to maintenance. And the event side of things as well.
Well, Judas, the CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of BC, says he's thrilled to see the province opening up and has some advice for those planning their summer vacations.
Don't expect businesses to be at full capacity. Perhaps don't expect the same level of service that you've experienced in years previous, and please be patient with the people that you're encountering who are trying to offer you the service, because they are short-staffed and they're desperate for colleagues to join them.
Tourism experts are hopeful this summer will help struggling businesses, but point out travel limited to those just in BC won't be enough for some to keep their doors open.
A lot of businesses that, just British Columbia travel alone is not going to be enough for them to survive. So it's a first great step, and we're really, really pleased that that it's happening, but it isn't something that is going to sustain us over the long term. So while there's excitement, there's also, we need to keep going. We need to keep this moving forward.
Canada-wide travel isn't expected to be allowed until at least July. But tourism experts say it's international travel that will really allow BC's tourism sector to start thriving once again. In New Westminster, Ashley Burr, City News.
It's a genuine, reasonable difference of opinion.
Canada commits to sharing COVID vaccines with the world, but polling suggests many people want to see a Canada-first approach.
Over the last 3 days, BC is reporting 277 new cases of COVID-19, only 68 new cases in the last 24 hours. There are currently 1,537 active cases of COVID-19 in the province. 136 individuals are currently in hospital. 42 are in intensive care. Almost 76% of all BC adults in the province have received at least their first dose. The BC Ferries website crashed not long after the province's reopening announcement. It could be an indication of how many people are itching to travel to the island. And with the Stage 2 beginning tomorrow, they will soon be able to. BC Ferries' summer schedule will be kicking in later this month, and that means more sailings in time for the Canada Day long weekend. BC Ferries says it's anticipating a surge in bookings.
We do expect pent-up demand. I know a lot of people, would like to go on a staycation, travel around the province, and we will be moving towards our summer schedule towards the end of this month.
BC Ferries says it's up to Transport Canada to decide when masks will no longer be required aboard a ferry vessel.
Effective immediately, Indigenous individuals can now apply to reclaim their names as written on passports and other identity documents.
My current last name that I carry is not at all in sync with who I am. I carry the last name Bourgeois, which is a very French colonial last name.
Ottawa hoping the reclamation of traditional names is a start to undoing centuries of persecution against Indigenous peoples.
But what it does offer is people that choose to use the Canadian passport can now see their Indigenous name reflected in it, which is not only a symbolic issue, but a matter of profound identity. So we'll see, but it could be hundreds of thousands of people.
For the next 5 years, Indigenous people in Canada can apply to have their name changed on passports, citizen certificates, and permanent resident cards at no charge. Many Indigenous peoples had their names erased while attending residential schools, or it was lost through centuries of colonialism. The reclamation of traditional names is the 17th call to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's final report.
We need to keep the narrative of reclamation, identity, and unity also amongst ourselves and nationhood very alive.
José Bourgeois is an Algonquin dancer and artist. Like many others, her traditional name was lost over the years. She sees the new initiative as a way to connect with her past.
I would really want to do some research and use some community resources to help me figure out what name lineage that really is before contact, before colonization. That would be so interesting to be able to discover.
Ottawa is making this move towards reconciliation while simultaneously telling 105 First Nations involved in a residential school class action lawsuit that Ottawa is not responsible for the loss of language or culture. In Ottawa, Nigel Newlove, City News.
Now, some will say that thank goodness that we're being this generous and altruistic. But it's not altruism. It's selfishness. It's strategic, proper selfishness.
As much of the nation sees COVID lockdowns ending, the Prime Minister commits Canada to donating surplus vaccines to the developing world. But a new Angus Reid poll suggests around 7 in 10 Canadians think this is too soon, saying they want to see Canada finish vaccinating before sharing.
It's a genuine reasonable difference of opinion. You know, if we truly believe in deliberative democracy and we believe that our government representatives are meant to represent us on behalf of Canada and not on behalf of the world, then, you know, then we should be getting vaccines to us first.
At the G7, Canada agreed to donate 100 million vaccines, but Angus Reid shows 72% of Canadians polled want to see us finish vaccinating at home before giving anything away. Clinicians and epidemiologists say getting the global economy back to normal needs the return of international trade and travel, and it can't just be citizens from developed nations making those trips.
Pre-pandemic, as we know, billions of people cross international borders every year. And you know, certainly if you're in a global international hub like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, you know, it's not difficult to understand why it's absolutely necessary.
We don't get our world back until we quash the pandemic everywhere. And we quash the pandemic everywhere when we stifle it by drowning it in vaccination.
Raywat Dionandan says realistically, less developed nations will need much more, including infrastructure to support vaccine rollout and in some cases medical know-how. But G7 countries are also in a geopolitical race. China and Russia have developed their own vaccines, which they've been donating or selling at cut-rate pricing. But Dionandan says those vaccines can't be counted on like Pfizer and Moderna.
The Chinese vaccine maybe has an efficacy of somewhere between 50 and 60%. The Russian one, we don't really know. They claim it's higher than 80%, but no one really knows for sure. With the new variants, the unknowns mount even further. With countries like Seychelles, that famously has a very high vaccination rate, but is seeing increase in cases nonetheless, they relied heavily on one of the Chinese vaccines, and that's probably why. Same with Chile.
In Ottawa, Xiaoli Li, City News.
The province is waiving the farm income requirement for a second year. Farmers normally have to meet a minimum income threshold in order to keep their farm classification and associated tax breaks. There are close to 19,000 farm properties in British Columbia, and the province says last year, due to economic challenges of the pandemic, more than 400 farm properties and many developing farms would have been at risk of losing their farm class for 2021. The British Columbia Real Estate Association says housing markets are continuing to calm after an active spring. They partially attribute the slowdown to the introduction of stricter mortgage stress tests this month. May sales, however, much stronger compared to last year. Total sales were up 178% compared to May 2020, and prices are up an average of 26%. Supply continues to rise in the Lower Mainland, while new listings in markets outside of Metro Vancouver have started to flatten out. The drivers of high-polluting vehicles may be forced to pay up to $1,000 a year to park on residential streets in Vancouver. These include large SUVs, trucks, and high-powered sports cars. This is a proposed idea from City Hall, and if approved by Council, would take effect next year. City staff say similar programs are already in place in Montreal and Sydney, Australia, but this pollution tax will only impact newer model cars, nothing older than 2023. The city says they hope this encourages people buying new vehicles to consider low or zero emission options.
The Climate Emergency Action Plan kind of identified this as one of the tools that we could use to help fund climate emergency initiatives like improved transportation, so walking, cycling, transits, getting more chargers out there on the street for electric vehicles, because we know as people shift to them, there's going to be a big need for that, and to start to turn the dial on green buildings.
Feedback on the proposal from the public is being collected until July 5th. And a reminder that overnight lane closures begin tonight on the Lionsgate Bridge. The work involves the counterflow system. New signal heads will be installed along the bridge deck and the Stanley Park Causeway with LED lane control signals. New software to manage the counterflow system will also be installed. Overnight lane closures will occur between 11 o'clock p.m. until 6 o'clock a.m. The project is expected to cost nearly $5 million, and work should be finished in mid-November. About 60,000 drivers cross the Lionsgate Bridge every day. Vancouver's news is always available on the radio with News 1130 or online anytime at citynews1130.com. Your next edition of City News is tonight at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.